So welcome everyone to your 2021 Dropshipping Blueprint with four of the founding council members of the Dropshipping Council. I'm super excited to have this panel back together after how well our Q4 Dropshipping Blueprint was received late last year. It's great to have you guys back on.
Great to be
So,
here.
today we'll be focusing on and evaluating how Q4 2020 went for each of us, and also what you guys need to be doing as the audience to get your dropshipping business on the road to the fast track in 2021. As a brief intro, if you don't know what the Dropshipping Council is, it's an exclusive invite-only mastermind community of pre-qualified dropshippers that have hit at least 100K per month in sales. And the council members get to network with other high-level dropshippers, kind of like the panelists that you see on here, through a dedicated Slack community. They also access privately held masterclasses, and they get access to exclusive discounts with major partners like SMS Bump, Recart, and Debutify. So head over to the dropshippingcouncil.com to see if you qualify. Now let's do a quick round of introduction before we get going. So again, very excited to have with us today Peter Prue, who is a two-time Two Comma Club Award winner, and he's also the founder of e-commerce Empire Builders. Super pumped to have Camille Sitar on board, also known as the Ecom King. He's one of the most respected dropshippers in this space on YouTube. And also Ricky Hayes. Ricky Hayes is the co-founder of Debutify, and that's one of the most popular Shopify themes for his stores. And he's also built multiple 6- and 7-figure e-com stores. And finally, my name is Shishir Nigam, and I'm the founder of the Dropshipping Council. And I also run my own e-com stores that have exceeded 7 figures in sales, along with our YouTube channel, Journey to Freedom. And what we'll make sure is you'll find the link to each of our YouTube channels in the video description, as well as to the Dropshipping Council. So again, very excited to dive into the questions now, so we can help our audience make 2021 their most successful year yet. So let's start off with a bit of a postmortem about on Q4 of last year. Running into Q4, this was really built up and hyped up to be the biggest ever Q4 because of COVID, because of the rise of e-commerce. Do you guys think BFCM and Q4 in general, did it live up to its hype? How did each of you kind of do during that phase in Q4 last year?
Yeah, so I think I'll go first. Last Q4, I made a video about it on my YouTube channel, and I show the day in my life doing Q4, and we did around about $480,000 in the end just during that time. It was good, but although it was the best time ever to do it, I actually scaled down by at least maybe almost just over a half. I scaled down. We could have done at least 7 figures, but due to the shipping times and the supply issues, I did not want to risk any crazy chargeback. So I actually made less in revenue this year, but I was actually 5% more profitable this year, which is insane. So that was pretty much what I chose to do this year. Well, last year, sorry.
That's great. How about you guys?
So yeah, for me, it was quite the adjustment. This the last time we talked. You know, my daughter was born in late July, which was a big adjustment. Obviously, at that point, you're really planning a lot of this stuff out. And so my big focus has been, just hiring a lot of people, just like teams, building out proper SOPs, and really for me, it was making sure that stuff can operate without me. We've had some problems. We drop ship a lot of supplements, primarily, very high margin, which is great. But, we did end up actually selling out of our supplement, which is awesome. But we had an order for 10,000 units supposed to be ready to go in order around the Christmas time, because we sold out around on Black Friday. But COVID completely, I don't know if you guys have done anything with supplements before, but there's been a lot of delays for some of the ingredients and the co-packers and stuff like that. We just drop ship them, so our manufacturer essentially creates our supplement for us and then also stores and ships them for us as well. So we've been dealing with kind of that logistical nightmare a little bit. But really, we've also, I don't know, I know you had some great questions here lined up. Our big thing has also been, and I don't know if you guys have seen this more so than past years, is the refund rates have been higher, at least in, even on our client businesses that we kind of help with. We've just seen like, and that's been, it's like the revenue increase, but like a little bit of the complaining and the refund rates, like after the fact, has gone up a little bit. So I almost want to say like, yeah, the hype was there, but like there was like a little bit more headaches with it as well. So.
Right. How about you, Ricky?
Similar for me. In terms of that. So I, similar to Peter and Camille, I use a warehouse myself, my own warehouse, and the problem that I had was that COVID just caused massive delays in terms of the actual orders being even shipped. And then at border control, it took like 2 weeks just for the orders. So my revenue was nowhere near as high. And I took the perspective of Peter and Camille as well, that I didn't really want to scale as high as well, because my shipping times were really fast because I could get them into the warehouse. But my problem was that getting the product to the warehouse was the entire problem. So for me, I scaled pretty comfortably up to about the 16th of December. Then I pretty much just had to stop because pretty much just ran out of stock. And so my revenue was nowhere near as high as I wanted it to be. Was only on this latest store hitting about 7K a day, and wanted to scale far higher, but wasn't able to, just simply because of COVID restrictions and stuff as well. So I just didn't want to get, like what Peter said, chargebacks and refunds, nothing worse, honestly. And even though planned ahead for that, still got some straight after Christmas. I don't know about you guys, but
It's crazy. I don't know what it is. I've never, and like being honest, like, you have to deal with chargebacks, refunds. It's like we're still dealing with that now. Like it's more so than ever. Last month, I had more refunds and chargebacks than literally in like 2 years combined.
Wow.
Right. Like it was, it could have just been, some stuff with our process, but like it just seemed really high. Right. But
no, the reason for that, I actually got on a phone with a Stripe rep the other day. Not the other day, about a week after January, and they basically said that the reason why the chargebacks are high is because people are trying to get money back to help them during COVID. So they're saying that that's a massive issue that they've had very recently. So
yeah, maybe just people trying to try things on, right? Ricky, your camera's green, but we can hear you fine, so I think it's okay.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. And like, honestly, if you deal with chargebacks, we're actually hiring this company. Anybody that's listening might want to work with them. They will, because it's a pain in the butt if you actually deal with these chargebacks and stuff yourself. It's called Chargebacks 911. I don't know if you guys have experience with them. They're somebody we're going to be working with, and they will handle like all that kind of stuff for you.
Yeah,
I'm not affiliated with them at all. Like I said, just a resource we're using.
No, I'm obviously hearing a theme, right? Like the Q4, I think even for me was not as good or as huge as it was, I think, in 2019. I've been holding my inventory through SFN, Shopify Fulfillment Networks in the US. The same thing, the stock that was there, they delivered that very quickly, 3 to 5 business days, but getting stock to the warehouse, stuff getting stuck on the border and taking weeks longer than expected. So stuff which I was expecting to arrive in time for BFCM didn't show up until mid-December. So you kind of miss the boat on that. So some of the inventory that gets carried over, still trying to work through that in January. So, but yeah, it's learning, I think, throughout the Q4. Every Q4 brings its own learning experiences along the way. So what are you guys planning to do differently this year? So 2021, looking forward, what are you guys doing differently this year compared to 2020?
So for us, it's, and this is something we've been always focused on, but more so heavily. It was actually interesting. It was like our last conversation, we were talking about like phone, SMS, text messaging and stuff like that. And just like really, you see all these privacy concerns, and I'm sure we'll get into that more so, but I think this is going to encourage more people to like really like focus on building stuff that you control, like social media is great, it's an asset, but still, do you really control? Like we lost an Instagram account for like 2 weeks and for like no reason, and finally, so is it an asset? Like kind of, but emails, phone numbers, putting like massive effort into that, right? These are things that you really control. So that's going into 2021, that's going to be a big thing.
One thing I noticed, just going back to Q4 of last year, in comparison to the years before, I've somehow found the effectiveness of text marketing to be a lot lower. I don't know why or how, but the same things that got me amazing results in 2019 didn't do much at all in Q4 last year for text marketing. And one clue that I got from some of the other friends I have was even text messages now kind of have a spam folder. So many of your text messages,
carriers, right? So here's the thing, like we use Twilio, so we use a couple different platforms, but Twilio, if you like use it with ActiveCampaign, that's kind of how we integrate it. It's kind of a one-way kind of communication. So when they reply back, you kind of need to use Zapier, and then like we send it to a Slack channel where all the replies go, but you can't like text them back, right? Like with a support. So if you get flagged by these carriers, right, that's what's going to happen. That actually happened to us, and we ended up having to get new phone numbers that you can get with Twilio. They're like $1 a month, and then you could send out those broadcasts again. I don't necessarily know the best way to go about that with the filters. I think we work with someone that really helps us manage this. It's just about lowering the volume of it. Don't like try and blast 20,000 texts in a day. Try to stripe it over a week. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah. How about you? Do you guys, Ricky?
It's also
yeah.
Sorry if my camera, by the way, if I can. But anyway, for me, it's also, I think that very strongly that SMS marketing is becoming saturated. If you ask me, like any channel, it's becoming pretty saturated. And like for instance, I'm getting text messages from Australian companies like Domino's every day and stuff. And text messaging has become a very popular channel, and I think it is becoming a crowded space. But back to your question about what I plan to do for 2021 is, for me, I'm just very focused on a slow, steady burn for me. That in terms of all I'm focused on is my LTV right now. I see that LTV is just always been my focus, but tenfold more this year because the rising cost of Facebook, of Google, the competition. We really have to, and it pretty much ties into what Peter said, where I'm very heavily focused on copy, landing pages, and email marketing for me. People say email marketing very saturated, but once you tap into email marketing, in my opinion, it's just a constant stream of just great cash that's pretty much just pure income. So for me, my big focus is all about just getting the lists like Peter and nurturing them, nothing more than that. Because I agree entirely with you, Peter, that you can't trust Google, you can't trust Facebook, and that with tightening policies and tightening government putting new mandates and stuff in, we have to very much look at the long-term burn, in my opinion. So I prefer that's sort of my focus, even if that means that I don't scale as aggressively. I want to see more stability and control in my business. So that's my focus.
Yeah, consistency, I think, is the name of the game here.
Yeah, consistency. Yeah, good.
Yeah. How about you, Camille?
Yeah, so with me, I've got some. So it's quite fun how I'm doing things. So the first thing that I'm doing this year, and I think in the dropshipping community, I think I'll set the pace with this, which is I'm now diving very much into artificial intelligence, artificial reality, where now my websites, you can go on your mobile phone and see the product through your phone. So you go on your phone, you click a button on Shopify on the website, and then the product will appear through your camera. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is because I've come to the conclusion that in a lot of countries, especially in the UK, you can't go to shops at the moment. We're in a full lockdown, and it's going to be like that for a long time until the vaccine gets put out. And customers ain't going to be able to see the product they're buying because they can't go to the shop anymore. So if you're buying a product that's over the price of probably $40, you're not going to feel confident buying it unless you know what it looks like in a 3D view or in your house, apartment. So I feel like for customers to be able to see the product at home where they're safe, even in the lockdown, that's going to give them more belief to go and buy it if you're tapping into the more high ticket market. So we put in place at the moment that we're doing a lot of AR on the website to start with. And the AR things that we've put in place is, like I said, the one where it's in a white background and the product will be a 3D rotation. And then we've also got where in your building, you can also put it anywhere, like an object. The next step that we're going to take, and this is going to take a little bit of time, is we're going to try and put AR into the Facebook ad section. But I don't think that's going to happen really till maybe April, May time, just because of the way Facebook is at the moment. But then the next thing that I'm doing, that's like the biggest thing that I'm doing in like dropshipping, white labeling at the moment. Like that's the biggest thing that I'm really changing. But then the second thing is I'm also taking like a small step back out of dropshipping, slowing down on it, and I'm focusing more on the brands that I built, like the clothing brand that I've got, Solar Towel. There's a couple of other brands that I've got that are white label. I'm going to focus more on them now because again, I don't have issues with Facebook with them because it's a real proper big company. I've got customer lifetime value that's amazing. The profit margin, growing the asset as a company, it's going to be worth, the clothing brand will be worth probably in the next 5 years at least £1 to £5 million. So I'm really trying to build the brands that I've got at the moment.
That's fantastic. Great to hear new stuff.
Yeah, I've seen actually some brands do it, like different kinds of watch companies and stuff, where you can like put your wrist out and like see it on, or even like more high ticket products. I don't know if Wayfair does it or something like that. It should, but where you can like, you know, kind of see like a desk in your room and stuff like that's interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And the reason why high ticket companies are doing it is because it's very expensive to get in the first place. Like to get 3D mapping done to a product, you're looking at a couple, $300-500. So for most beginners, they're not going to want to spend that kind of money on just getting it modeled. And then to get it put onto Shopify, you're looking at, again, another web developer that's going to cost you about another $400-500. So it's like $1,000 per website. So unless you've got the pockets, it's not cheap.
Doesn't Shopify support AR? I thought Shopify supported.
Yeah, they just added it to the code like literally a couple of months ago. No, maybe a couple of months ago. They've literally just added it.
It's really fascinating. So I think it's similar to what many of the like eyeglass companies do, right? So the AI that helps you visualize, hey, you know, without going to the store, you want to see how it looks on your face. So
yes, sir.
Pretty cool. So kind of bringing it up one level to look at it from the audience standpoint who's watching this, what kind of niches and markets do you think are trending or will trend going forward in this year in 2021?
Yeah, so I think a lot of trends for me, personally for me, I'm diving a lot into digital products because a lot of people now have never had more time than ever to go on their phones, their devices. So I'm currently selling a lot of digital products that are, I don't want to give too much away because it's such an unsaturated niche in the industry. So, but for example, let's say you sell like presets for photographers, you know, like presets they can add on top of their photos. You can buy them on websites for like a couple of dollars and then just sell them on as a digital product. So to drop ship like that, you don't need to send it to people. And because people are now bringing up new hobbies like photography, editing and working from home, I feel like that is just so unsaturated. And we've got a store ourselves doing it at the moment, and it's doing like 2K a day at the moment consistently. So
So for me, I agree sort of Camille with digital products. I also just think print on demand in general is now, you know, drop shipping has become a thing, and now that sort of extra layer of print on demand to me, I think is going to really, like, whenever I think of a t-shirt, you know, if you can get a customized t-shirt, I see a lot of those now where people get, I think I saw like someone make an entire store around like The Simpsons, where you can get your character as like a Simpsons character or something. And I'm like, what an ingenious idea that is. And I just think the whole print on demand thing, that extra layer of personalization, people are just, I'm noticing people are really jumping on board. So that's something that like I personally am venturing more into, print on demand related products, especially for apparel. It works very, very well from my perspective.
Mm-hmm. Do you find though that's a market which is tough to differentiate yourself in though? Like apparel in terms of for print on
Yeah,
demand?
it's somewhat. Well, it's all like, again, about the design concept that you give
Yeah.
people. Like I've seen ones where people can get a customized dog mat, like a customized dog mat, doormat, sorry. And it's all just about presenting it. Like what I found works really well for me when I see these ads is that you see a standard doormat and then you see the customized one, and how sort of happy people are, just a sort of a side by side.
Right.
So I think it's more about how you present it, and people just love it. Like, you know, I'm a dog lover. I loved it. For instance, I was nearly tempted to buy it anyway. And so I just see that extra layer because people just feel so much more connected to it. It's more emotional. And it's an industry that hasn't really been very heavily tapped yet. Like you look at all the drop shipping niche is very heavily saturated as a whole. And you look at this and it's still very unsaturated. So, and that is for, as I said, like I'm focusing more on apparel at this stage, but like there's plenty of different sub areas you can do as well. Like jewelry would be another fantastic one, getting inscriptions on various.
Correct. I was just going to make a point that a very good case study that I came across recently, that was shared by Matt Pinnock at Sales Genomics. One of their clients, what they did was they did POD, except with custom jewelry, custom keychains, which was basically a replica of their pets. So a keychain of your pet, essentially. And their angle was all about to memorialize, you know, a pet that you've lost. So it really got the emotional angle into it. And all the ads were all very emotion driving ads, and they showed that copy. Oh yeah, a memory keepsake for the one that was so close to you, kind of a thing. And they've scaled to millions of dollars over Q4. So that's one very good case study to look at. How about you, Pete?
Exactly.
Yeah, so the you know, coming back even with the digital products, something I talk a lot about, especially mixing digital products with e-commerce and physical products. That's one of, like, whenever I'm looking at a niche or anything, I'm basically looking at 3 criteria, right? Evergreen, right? Has it been around for a while? Is it going to be here for a while? Not a ton of brand loyalty, and is there a lot of physical and digital products? You know, a lot of dropshippers come into the space. And I'm very direct response marketing. You guys probably know that, right? Like that's how we build our business. We mainly use like sales funnels to do it, collect emails, and you know, and all that stuff. But we've been finding a lot of success, you know, selling digital products on the backs of physical products, right? So there's like a psychological reason that it works so well. It's because of, like, you know, a lot of people will try and be like, oh, well, I'll just go sell ebooks and courses, but it's not that easy to sell on the front end because you're missing on that like Amazon effect. Like it's not tangible, right? So your refund rates are typically higher on a digital product, at least from what I've seen, right? But if you can lead in with something, you know, that's physical, maybe bundle in some ebooks or courses into that. Like we're doing this for the woodworking funnel right now, where we're leading in with physical product, bundling in some stuff to help them with the product, right? And then upselling them into different kinds of, you know, courses or, you know, stuff. And you can use PLR websites and stuff out there. We can get this stuff pretty cheap and then rebrand it for yourself, you know, get a designer on Fiverr to make it look pretty. And it's all margin, really. So if you add it as one of your like one-click upsells, let's say you charge $29 for it. It costs you, you know, $50 to make it look pretty, right? Like, you know, after a few sales, right, you can really dilute that ad cost, right? And that's big for me. Another big trend is, you know, subscription. That's another big thing that, you know, I preach is like, you need subscription. Like every business can somehow do it. You just kind of have to think it through, whether it's, you know, digital members area, you know, some niches you can't really do digital products as easily with, or, you know, a subscription box business or a mixture of both. So, you know, I that's kind of the trends I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's a fantastic tip. One thing I've done recently, I've applied a lot of what you just said, Pete. So I find especially for products which are a little bit complicated to use properly, the ebook and the content that you sell afterwards as an upsell, not only does it give you margin, obviously, but it will make your customers use your product more effectively, and that's going to reduce your return rates. So it's a huge win-win.
Well, this is a big thing. What people don't realize that everyone's like, oh, they forget that there's a person on the end of their transaction. Most people, they're like, oh, I just want to sell, make money. But it's one thing to sell somebody something, but then you have to sell them on actually using it. I'm reading actually a really good book. You guys would love it. It's called Pay to Think. It's a kind of boring, but great read if you're trying to get into that, that CEO mindset. And that's like a big thing that they talk about in there, right? Because if they're not using your product, like people try to combat refunds with like, other ways, like, but like, what if you just get them to use it more effectively, right? Then your refund rate and chargebacks and all those things will naturally go down.
Yeah, that's fantastic. One just tangent from what you mentioned, upsells. So I know Zipify, for example, has moved to, being native to Shopify, and that right now, at least, it has its own set of restrictions. I believe it doesn't, accept PayPal payments at the moment. I'm guessing they'll get around to it. But how are you guys dealing with that move? What do you guys use for your upsells? Let's talk about Shopify. I know obviously there's other platforms, but on Shopify, what do you guys use for upsells?
So I mainly only use ClickFunnels. Any client that we have that we'll build funnels for and stuff like that, we'll just port it to a Shopify backend to fulfill it off of. I personally, there's other platforms out there. I've been using ClickFunnels for like 6 years now. You get away with a lot more, right? Like at the end of the day, like Shopify is a publicly traded company. You're not going to get away with certain things. Like there's ways now to combat with the tracking and things like that that's going on with some code you can add to your ClickFunnels pages. So I just use that, and it doesn't take a portion of your revenue onto upsells that it makes you. So there's benefits to that. I know like some people say it's clunky, this or that, it's like anything, but you can always port those orders over to your Shopify store. So to me, it's just, that's what I use. So I know you guys will probably have, better tips for the Shopify side.
Yeah. How about you guys? What's your experience with the one-click upsells?
Yeah, so I actually have been trialing the one-click upsell because of the native integration, but I'll be honest, it hasn't been working as well for me because, and it's a bit annoying that have you guys ever heard of Afterpay? Yeah. So anyway, buy now, pay later. Like I think there's Klarna, there's Affirm. Anyway, we use Afterpay, and it only has integration with Shopify, which is a royal pain in the ass because I personally am an advocate for ClickFunnels as well, and I would love to use it. But a lot of our customers use Afterpay, and it's unfortunately one-click upsell doesn't have integration with that yet either, which is just an unfortunate reality, same as PayPal. It still works well, but obviously it only really works when they use a normal credit card essentially. I've found that it gets me about that still 5-10% on the transactions that go through as a credit card. But so as a whole, it's not actually generating me as much as I'd like because, as I said, a lot of mine are through PayPal and Afterpay. So a little bit frustrating there nonetheless. So, but it is a really good app, and I do like how it becomes more natively integrated very much. And, I'm looking at using ClickFunnels and that more because it is a fantastic app. Like, copy, paste, set it up. Funnel, I love the conversion rate optimization. It's just designed to make a lot of money. But yeah, that's sort of
that's why people hate it, because it's so direct responsey, and like people aren't used to it, so they have like opinion. But it converts a lot better. Like it just does because it's more simplified, right? Yeah. Like there's not a ton of stuff going on. So I think Shopify has a place. I'm not saying like storefronts don't, but like cold traffic. Like what's the purpose of cold traffic, right? It's to create something for, you're not necessarily buying buyers, right? You're buying data, right? It's what you're going to do with that data that you pull out of Facebook or YouTube or wherever, right? So, yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, nobody will ever buy a page from that, but it's like sometimes you're just too in the weeds in marketing that you don't realize like the average person does buy like from these kind of sites. I mean, but it is what it is.
I agree though. Like, to me, the most important thing is having a very simple, focused journey for the customer and copy. I'm a big fan of my copy. It makes,
Mhm.
until like a year or two ago, I had no idea how important a headline was, like how important a headline is to pre-frame someone, for instance. Anyway, but sorry, back to your thing. Like, as I said, one-click upsell for me is what I've been using. I know there's others that I've used, like, reconvert. I personally haven't had much success with that. If I'm honest, I just, for some reason, I get like 1-2%. I don't know why, just pretty poor.
Yeah.
And then there's some others, and I can't fully remember which ones they are, but that's
Yeah,
sort of my
there's
experience.
a few like into cart, and not all of them have made it onto the native checkout. So I think only 2 or 3 of them have actually made it. Zipify being one of them. But Camille, what do you use for your post purchase?
Yeah, so Ricky mentioned one of them. So with our clothing brand, and we get a lot of customers that use it, is Klarna. Klarna is very, very big in the UK. And a large proportion of our customers will use it, and they will use a lot of it. I've tried things like Shopify before. It's okay. I know Ricky may have tried them before. They're okay. It did help. It helped quite a lot. Talking about, I did use a company called Commerce HQ, and I sold something on there. And Commerce HQ is not Shopify; it's a different platform, but they've got their own checkout, upsells and stuff like that, the whole funnel and whatnot. I wish Shopify had that, because their version of it is amazing. And that was really, really good. But the ones that work on the apps that work on Shopify tend not to do very well for me. But the one on Commerce HQ worked insanely well.
Right.
If you ask me, I don't know why Shopify just don't have their
Yeah,
own
exactly.
one-click upsell.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Makes no sense to me. So
Yeah, they just make so much more revenue. That's great though. But thanks for the tips. So
Yeah.
now, next point I had here was Chinese New Year. So I know many of us tend to kind of hold inventory in advance, so we kind of get around that issue. But many of the viewers that are watching this may not be at that stage yet. So in about a week's time, most of the Chinese factories will be shutting down for 3 to 4 weeks. So normally, in your past years or even now, how do you guys deal with that supply bottleneck that's about to start in a few weeks?
Yeah, so with Chinese New Year, if we're doing a product that's completely drop shipped on a longer term, we'll do something called a pre-order. So we'll change the buy now button to say pre-order, and we'll have a whole pre-order terms of service page, and we'll have an emailed update list telling the customer up to date when the product will come in stock and when it'll be approximately delivered. If we're not doing that, then what we'll do is we'll use a supplier. So a good supplier to use is Weo. Weo are only taking 3 days off this year instead of 2 weeks. So use a supplier or use a US supplier normally, because if you're using like DSs, you can filter for US suppliers, or just use like CJ Dropshipping US fulfillment. That's what I tend to personally do.
Great tips. I think there's also companies like Spocket that also, again, give you the US suppliers and European suppliers. Sorry, Ricky.
No, you're right. You pretty much covered all the bases there for me too. But like, as I said, the main thing that I do, that I always stress to everyone, is make sure to say that it's on pre-order. And I cannot stress how much you want to say that it's on pre-order, and that, we've all probably had it. Anytime you put something on pre-order, I put it in the top, in the announcement bar, pre-order, put it in the description, pre-order. I make sure they get an email that it's on pre-order. You'll still get emails. You'll still get email. Why is my order not arrived? Oh my God. Yeah, anyway, but so that's pretty much what I actually just put items purely on pre-order, and I'll go into overdrive to make sure that customers know it's on pre-order. In terms of with the suppliers, again, I just historically just use CJ Dropshipping, if I'm honest, and Spocket. Spocket, I find personally I like better for the European region, but because I've more targeted the US region, that's why I've just used CJ. And that's pretty much my strategy there. And I will very much, from my perspective, take the perspective of reducing revenue during that time, because it's only a week, in my opinion. I'd rather not push things high and make a nightmare in the long term for myself.
Yeah. Pete, any additional tips there? I think we've covered off most of the things, it seems.
I think the guys pretty much covered it. I mean, it's like every year, like this comes up. There's like, countless amounts of YouTube content already on this, and everyone freaks out. But yeah, the big thing, over communicate. A lot of times people see this coming. Like, you could have sourced inventory, right? Like you could have done those things like beforehand. A lot of people, try and scale right with just AliExpress. You can, of course, but like, to me, it's like you want to get to the point where you're building a brand, right? Like something a little bit more real, like not like sticking to AliExpress or whatever. I know we leverage CJ Dropshipping heavily as well, but over communicate with your customers, and learn from it, right? Like for next year, like start branding your products. If you already have winners, right? Like you're going to create something more tangible, a sellable asset, right? Like, so.
Yeah, that's great. Now, one obviously issue that's hitting everybody on the Facebook community is the iOS 14 change, and how that's affecting advertisers and all the implications and all the confusion that comes along with it. So in the last probably 3 or 4 weeks, we've gotten maybe a bit more clarity on the exact impacts and what to do about it. But how are you guys adapting? Are you making any major changes, or are you basically status quo in terms of adapting to this iOS 14 change?
Yeah, so for me personally, I'm just making sure that every domain name I've got is verified now through the business manager as it is a new protocol. And to be honest with you, in my opinion, from the ads that I've been running recently, and since, if I compare them back to last year before the change, I've not really seen that many issues. I've not really seen that many like fundamental changes. I know the events that you can target are a lot more limited, but the ones that are still available are the ones that are not available. I didn't even use them anyway, really. Yeah. So personally, not really done that much of a change.
Yeah, I agree entirely with Camille. I read it and I'm like, this isn't going to have that much of a change. And I watched your video, Peter, as well on the iOS update, so that was good. Thank you. Anyway, and but for me, like the way I sort of interpreted it is that most of us, I'm sure, probably just use the purchase event really at the end of the day. And I don't know, the way I looked at it is I haven't personally noticed much of a change. And if I look at this anyway, as even if it doesn't have much of a change, again, like Peter was touching on it earlier, I work on this at the basis that we are always at the mercy of these platforms. So what I always like to take the perspective of, if you ask me, not to get too much off topic, is diversification. So that's where like I work on a number of traffic sources so that if something goes wrong over here, that my business isn't going to flop. So that's very much the perspective I take, that this will, in my opinion, this iOS update from Apple and stuff, this stuff like this will continue happening. I reckon that something like this might happen with Samsung in the future too. And so I just think it's important to not just rely on Facebook, if you ask me, just look elsewhere as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to follow suite. I know right now, like results wise, like doesn't seem like there's that big of an impact. I don't think we will know till it's a little bit more broad, right? Like, with Safari and Google Chrome and like all the, potentially like Samsung and all these things start happening. We leverage third-party tracking software, right? That just gives you much better results anyway. You could do, Hyros is a big one. It's kind of expensive. There's another cost-effective company that we've kind of partnered with. It's Capitbox. I don't know the official website. It might be capitbox.com, but you can essentially install code on your ClickFunnels account, and it's like an API, so it'll still be able to track a little bit more accurately. So, there'll be a lot more of these things. They might be Band-Aid solutions in the short term. They might work a little bit better. Who knows how long Facebook will allow those kind of things to happen, but it's, I'm with you here, Ricky. Obviously, it's just diversification, right? Off these platforms, bring in traffic that you have a little bit more control of.
Yeah. I think the main thing that my understanding of, I kind of looked at a lot of content put up by Dipesh Mandalia, and he did a really good job of summarizing some of this impacts. And main thing is that people are not going to adopt iOS 14 right now. It'll take maybe 6 months to a year to roll out, first of all. And once that does, then the impacts would probably be in terms of retargeting, in terms of attribution back to Facebook, just how we're used to seeing 20 to 30% of our sales not show up on Facebook. It may be a larger percentage. But ultimately, if you have a good product, if you have a good creative, there's no reason why things still won't work. It's just that you got to figure out ways to attribute it better.
In my opinion, that's where Google Analytics comes into play. I'm not sure about you guys, but I love that tool to death.
Yeah.
Very useful tool.
Mm-hmm. It's like a nerd's dream, isn't it?
It's my dream, yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Have you used Kairos at all, Ricky?
No, I actually haven't. Like, I know of it, and obviously it's made from Alex Becker, isn't it? And but I am really looking into using that because, like, hats off to him. It looks like an absolutely amazing tool. I just haven't used it, and so I might have to have a chat with you about that one because I'm actually quite interested in it.
If you do like affiliate marketing and stuff, and it really is, it's really well done. So. It's expensive, $1,000 a month is not cheap, but it helps a lot.
Mm-hmm. So I tried to segue a little bit into our next topic, which is ad creatives. How are you thinking about ad creative strategy this year? What are any major changes in your thought process? What kind of ad creatives are you focusing on putting out this year for the products that you're marketing?
I'll go. So, I've always come from the frame of mind.
Oh, no, you go, Peter. Sorry.
So I always come from the frame of mind of just variation, right? The more variation you kind of put out there, seeing which ones are winners, that's the biggest thing. At the end of the day, right? It's just a funnel, right? And I think people try and, when you're creating new creative, whether it's image ads or video ads, a lot of people try and do everything in that ad so they buy when they get to your page, but sometimes you have to think about it, right? Because it's a funnel, right? The purpose of the ad is to stop a scroll, right? That's the first and foremost. That has to happen, otherwise they'll never click your site, they'll never do all those other things, right? So it's about making sure you're really focusing on stopping the scroll. We've actually been having just such great results with image ads, to be honest with you. They've been really working really well for us. We do video ads too, of course, just demonstration style, but it really depends on the product, right? If it's more of not like the most fun product, then image ad typically suffices. But the point is, get them to stop the scroll, get them to click, right? That's the purpose of an ad, right? To get them to click. And then when they land on your landing page, then, getting them to sell them on opting in and then selling them on ordering, right? So that's kind of the frame of mind that I've always come from. As far as creatives, I always recommend refreshing those creatives almost on a monthly basis. Don't just go into Facebook ads and with one piece of creative. I would never, bare minimum, if you're just getting started with Facebook, at the very least 4, right, pieces of creative, whether it's images or a video here too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so me personally, sorry, Ricky, sure. Like Peter said, I found that picture ads for me personally have been working really well. Carousel ads have been working extremely well, but the new catalog ads that Facebook have given out now have worked really, really well. The new catalog ads have worked even better than carousel ads for me personally in the last few weeks. In terms of video content, I'm using a company, I'm not affiliated with them. I'm using a company called Bilo. And that's where you send your product to one of the creators and they'll do a video of an unboxing experience or a website review experience. So having those different 5 psychology experiences and split testing all 5 of them, I'm finding really, really useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
what's that site name?
It's called BILLO. It's really, really good, man. That's what I use. It's not cheap, don't get me wrong. It's like $50 a video, but dude, by far some of the best stuff I've seen.
That's cheaper than sending it to an influencer typically.
Yeah, dude, it's a lot cheaper and it's a lot better in terms of the customer support, the creators' expertise. It's amazing, dude. If anything, it's underpriced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I looked them up after our last conversation, Camille, and they're pretty good for sure. I'll be using them more.
Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't remember that one, so I'm taking note. Anyway, um, so, so for me, like same with the guys, like obviously creatives, I find catalog ads actually do quite well as well. Images, it's funny how I think images are working well now because so many people are doing videos. You know,
Yeah.
it's sort of a funny thing, and that becomes a pattern interrupt, which is a funny thing. But for me, I look at it as well that the reason that personally like catalog ads that does so well for me, the same as like Camille, is more because of the amount of placements you can be on. Because again, like I'm focused a lot more now on like, you know, obviously the news feeds are always going to get you the most traffic, but is it going to make you the most profit? Obviously, you know, and so the good thing with catalog ads is they can pretty much show up anywhere on nearly any placement. So I focus on that, and it allows you to just show up on nearly any placement. And a lot of Facebook is now very focused on trying to release new placements where feasible. And so I find that works very well for me. And they're so easy to do. It's pretty much you just integrate your catalog and you just literally run an ad. It like takes no time. You just do the targeting and it does the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of one of the things. And like I try and cycle my creatives, especially for a winning product, probably once a fortnight, where at least 1 to 2 new variations of an existing winning product creative, that I use and repeat that cycle. It's pretty much how I do it.
That's great. Great tips, guys. But so Camille had to drop off, but we're talking about Facebook ad strategies. How are you guys adapting or evolving your testing or your scaling strategies on Facebook? You know, the debate between CBOs and ABOs. What's your take on that for 2021?
Yeah, so for me, if I'm honest, I haven't found, from my perspective anyway, I haven't found a clear differentiator between the two. I've just stuck to CBO, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I see that ABO is very good for starting out, in my opinion, from what I found, but I find that CBO gets its feet after just a bit longer, and I find that it just makes the scaling process a bit easier longer term. So I generally just stick with CBO. It might be a little bit more painful up front, I've found at times, but I always find over time, from my perspective, that I've found that it generally stabilizes and does better than ABO. That's pretty much, and I've just decided to take the perspective of, look, both strategies work, ABO or CBO, and I've just decided to stick to CBO just to be consistent with my marketing. Otherwise, I'll just confuse myself. So like my recommendation to anyone is that just either go full ABO, if you ask me, or full CBO. That's my perspective anyway on that topic.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like whenever we launch like new stuff, like I'm not very involved in the day-to-day of actually running the ads anymore, but just from when I go in there regularly, we've always, like on new stuff that we're testing, it's always the ad set budget stuff has always worked better for some reason. Like, so we've stuck with that. So that's kind of where we've been, you know, for us into 2021. It's not necessarily just focusing so much scaling the Facebook side, but it's going into these different platforms as well that aren't like everyone thinks it has to be Facebook, right? There's so many other places to get traffic from that you wouldn't even think of, right? Like crazy ones, like Bing, like AOL, like Snapchat, TikTok, right? Like there's so many places that you can get traffic from. So we're really focusing on the omnipresence sort of a approach, you know, in 2021. But I still think Facebook is a great starting point for anybody.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys completely. So just kind of on the CBO, ABO topic, like you said, Ricky, I tend to start out with ABOs for my testing and then migrate stuff to the CBO for scaling. And then if I really want to max an audience out, then I'll just have 5 copies of the same audience in one CBO and just burn it out before moving on to something else. But like you said, Pete, I've really focused a lot on testing new platforms. So I've been trying to run native ads. I've been trying to run Twitter ads. Again, different degrees of success. Twitter ads was surprisingly quite a big failure for e-com products. It's probably got to do with the niche, obviously. But native ads, you know, they do drive a lot of traffic. It just matters. It depends on the quality, obviously, and whether you're attracting the right people. But they drive a lot of traffic.
if I'm perfectly honest, like I'm the same with Peter here, that like and self, like that omnipresent approach. And one, I just enjoy it because Facebook gets to a point, if you ask me, where it becomes a bit repetitive and mundane. But anyway, and so, but one thing I'm actually moving more towards is like what Peter said. You know, I use Bing. There's Taboola, Outbrain. These won't get you sales for me. I find I don't get many sales on the front end with cold traffic ads. But I find Facebook is incredibly good for remarketing. So I'm actually using more Facebook for a lot more remarketing focus than a lot more cold traffic, just from what I found. Because like, for instance, with Taboola, I can get clicks for like 6 cents, like, you know, and as long as I'm optimizing for conversions, that works really well. And Facebook is where nearly everyone ends up. And so Facebook does really incredibly well for remarketing. So like, I still use it for cold, but I'm trying to use Facebook more for remarketing long term, because I find that's where Facebook really shows its colors, if you ask me.
Right. That's fantastic. Anything to add to that, Pete?
Yeah, and I mean, not even as far as Facebook, just even like other traffic sources. I think a lot of people don't leverage like JVs, affiliates. Like if you have the margin in your product, right? Like you should be, you know, actively trying to get affiliates to promote it, whether it's, you know, go put it on ClickBank, right? Like reaching out to, you know, influencers in your niche on YouTube or whatever, right? That's such an untapped source because it takes a little bit more time because you have to be like a human, right? And like actually build a relationship with somebody, and nobody wants to do, like, not a lot of people want to do that, right? But like that's a huge thing. Imagine, you know, like a lot of people are like, oh, well, how do I get to, you know, a 7-figure month? And I come from the mentality it's a lot easier to make a lot of money in a small period of time than it is, you know, in a long period of time. And the reason for that, it comes down to the strategy, right? That you come up with, right? Imagine finding somebody that has, you know, 200,000 people on an email list or something like that, that you can then partner up with. Yes, they might get, you know, 30-40% commissions on your product, right? Depending on whatever you're selling, but like you can, that's how you can have a $1 million day, like pretty quickly. So just changing the frame of mind. We're putting a lot of focus on that, you know, this year, you know, our supplements on ClickBank as well. So we're really focusing on like getting more affiliates on board and things like that. You know, I've just found they already have like the hardest part of this whole game is warm traffic, right? That's like the hardest thing, right? Like, so, you know, I think there's, you know, a lot of people it's underrated, right? For sure.
I agree, Tyler. Like I'm pushing hard for, I haven't used ClickBank. I might have to pick your brain on that too, but like I'm using a similar one called Impact. Like I found it's fantastic. Like the thing is, if I have to give an affiliate 30-40%, like that's essentially my marketing cost of what it'll be with Facebook anyway, and it's more consistent. And all I have to do is I can easily outsource that work to one of my staff, and you don't have to worry about the inconsistencies of Facebook. It's like, because these people are just absolute experts. Like these people know how to nurture a list beyond comprehension. Like these people have been doing it so long, they just know how to get their audience to buy like nothing. You know, and so, sorry, go ahead.
There's like I think this will help you, is like, you have to make it really easy for them and be like integrated. Right? Don't just look for that one promotion, like, because we have like people that we affiliate stuff for, and they're like super smart with it. I'm like taking the ideas that what they've made me do for them, right? So like, for example, like integrate with their current systems that they have, right? So whether it's like a back-end email automation that you just put in, right, for them, be like, hey, we'll write the emails, we'll do everything, and just all you have to do is, you know, stick this on the back end of your stuff, and you're just making commissions, right, off of that. We do that for a few partners that we work with, and it's genius, right? Because think about that's now, it's not like, oh, there's a launch that's happening, but now you're integrated into somebody else's business and you're getting that exposure. So you can either like JV it, or they could just be an affiliate.
It's kind of like it brings to mind a Shine On. So Shine On is the print-on-demand jewelry, and they do a fantastic job of using affiliates, obviously, and they give you all the materials, the plug and play kind of a concept. You know, take it, use the creatives, drop it into your ads, and run with it, kind of a thing. So I think Shine On is a great example.
It's got to be easy. That's the thing. Affiliates are lazy. JVs are lazy and they're not going to go and do hard work for you because they don't care about your business as much as you do. But if you literally do all of it for them, right? Like, and just make no excuse for it. And like really, because at the end of the day, they really just mainly care about money, most of them. Like, if you just make it like a no-brainer, like, hey, we'll create everything for you, we'll write in your voice, like all that stuff, then yeah, then it's a no-brainer for them.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be fair to the affiliates, like in that all they care about is money. I can say that probably to me, all I care about is the money too. So I'm not gonna. I just wanted to quickly ask. Sorry, what's everyone's experience been with TikTok in terms of ads and influencers? I personally have not had much success, but I'm just actually curious on other people's experiences.
So I haven't used them. I have a TikTok for like my personal brand there. And it's crazy. Like, we get a ton of great traffic for, like, you know, our digital products, e-commerce empire builders. You know, for Untapped, we do have a TikTok on there as well. We just haven't necessarily cracked the code, because the thing about TikTok is that it has to be like a very sexy hook, right? And it's like kind of hard to make a supplement very sexy about it. So it's like, it's a little bit easier, right, when you show like results and all this nonsense, like with personal brand, like it stops it. So we've grown really, really pretty big on TikTok there, but it's actually a really good source of traffic for us. And you know, we're trying to crack the code with our Untapped supplement, where we have like a plan to do like motivational videos and stuff like that to try and get them to stop. I haven't done any TikTok influencers. I know there's people that have success with them. I haven't tried it yet personally, but I think it's an untapped market. Like, anybody can go on there, man. Like, it can change your business. Like, if you go viral, like whatever, it's definitely an interesting platform.
I think it's a very niche specific thing, right? If you have products that resonate with that age group, with the
I don't
market.
even think that it's age group, man. I think people on there, like even in like my stuff, there's people 30 plus into their 40s on there. You know, like, I don't think it's just kids. I think that there's a lot of, like, my sister's on it, and she's like, you know, like, 40 almost. So, you know, like, a lot of people are using it. I think it's an underrated platform. I really do.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for all the tips, guys. I think this has been a very, very good discussion as last time. Again, thanks to each of you for pouring your hearts out. Camille had to drop off a little bit early. But again, if you guys are watching this, if you found some value, make sure you smash that like button. Comment below 2021 blueprint. Get your questions answered. All of us will be answering questions. And if you get lots of good feedback, we can do this again in a few months' time. So again, thanks to all of you, and best of luck for 2021.
Thanks, guys. Take care.